Hello folks, welcome back. We're at the end of September here. We're having a moderate fall flow. We've got goldenrod coming in and the asters are just really starting to bloom heavy. A lot of pollen and a moderate amount of nectar coming in. It's not quite as heavy as last year, but we'll see how it finishes out. We're probably 2.5, 3 weeks away from first frost. So we're in the process of getting these girls all ready for winter. Moving things around. The bigger hives are definitely going to have a surplus. I'll be able to pull that. I'll probably give most of the surplus over to the smaller hives, which are still building up. It'll all work out in the end. Now, I'm still requeening. Extremely late. I don't recommend requeening this late in the year, but I've got quite a few hives. I wanted to change out a lot of the genetics in some of the hives. So I thought I would kind of recap how I'm requeening this late in the year. Stick around. Okay, there's a couple different ways that I'm requeening. Both of these are very common. Earlier in the year, July and August, I will raise my own queen cells using JZBZ cups. The day before the cells emerge, I will place them in a protective cell, little cell protector here. I will go in, remove the queen that's in the hive, and place this down between two brood frames. Within 24 hours, if my timing's right, this queen will emerge. The hive instantly accepts it. She's a virgin emerging out of a cell. They assume it's a supersedure. The drawback is later in the year, not every virgin comes back from her mating flights. It's an easy way to requeen, but you do have a certain percentage that do not come back. The later in the year, the higher the percentage. So in the spring, I probably have 85–90% return, but you get into August, you're probably only going to have 65 or 70% return. So that's a drawback. You got to keep an eye on them. Really easy way of requeening if you raise your own queens. Now, this is a typical way that you buy mated queens. They're in a California mini cage. So these have a little candy plug in them with the queen. So you'll get these. And the easiest way to requeen, go in the week before you receive your mated queens. Find your old queen. Put her either in a clip or in an empty cage, tape over the empty cage. Leave her in that hive. Put her down between some brood frames. Either way, just leave her in there. She cannot lay, but the bees will continue taking care of her. They'll feed her. They're still queen right. They will live, go ahead and take care of her. You come back a week later, pull her out. The hive is hopelessly queenless. They have nothing young enough to make queens from. So you pull your old queen out, whichever way you have her. You take your new queen, place her down between a couple brood frames, and walk away. They usually accept them really well. Now, if you're a little nervous about that, take a piece of masking tape and either put over the candy tube and poke a small hole in. That'll slow them up by a couple days. Or take a piece of masking tape and go over about 2/3 of the opening. So you just leave a small amount opening. That way they can chew on that paper or the tape and get it opened up. But that will really slow them up. Because a candy tube, candy plug, they'll usually have them out in 24–36 hours. If you put that over them, you're going to buy a couple extra days. A little easier, especially late in the year when you're a little more nervous about them accepting a queen. That buys you a couple days of acceptance. So, and then the third option is to go in the day you receive these, pull your old queen, wait about 2 hours, come back, put your new queen in. If you're doing a direct swap like that, I would definitely put the piece of tape over it. If it's a strong hive and you're worried about acceptance, don't poke a hole in the paper. just put a piece of tape over it, come back a week later, then remove the tape. By removing the old queen earlier, usually you guarantee the acceptance. By putting her in a cage, clipping her for about a week, and then pulling her out, they have nothing to fall back on, nothing to make queen cells from. If you pull your queen the day you receive your new ones, they've got a lot of larvae. They may go ahead and build a queen cell and not accept your new queen. So you got to be a little more careful, especially late in the year. So I've been going through. In August we did several with the cells. Those all emerged around the 1st of September, went out, came back. I did have some that did not make it back, so those we had to fall back on putting mated queens in. So today we're going to go through and I'm going to inspect some of the ones that I did with the cells. You'll get to see how they're doing, and then we're going to go in and check some of the ones that either taped over and left a small hole in, or the ones I completely taped over, we're going to untape today. Okay, there's our young queen. Right there. She's got this frame just totally laid up with eggs and tiny larvae. We're going to take this opportunity to mark her. She's a good looking queen. Tiger stripe. Okay, very gently. Let's see here. My glove's in the way more than anything. If I can get this thing to... Small mark, good enough. I don't want to hold her too long. But she's looking good, look like she's doing a good job. She'll get this hive ready for winter. Get her back in where she's safe. That's all I need to see at this point. No need to dig any further. I saw eggs and larvae before I seen her. The attitude to this hive should change here in the coming weeks also, as she gets them ready for winter. Yeah, the young queen's doing a great job, and there she is, hiding along the bottom of this frame. See if we can get her marked real fast. Let her get over here. Okay. Nice color to her. Get her back in here. She's doing a great job. We're going to have to get this feeder out. Throw a couple more frames in here because she's got these frames full. Okay, we're going to check this one out, see what happened. I pulled this queen and put a direct introduction in here. And by that I mean I just put a candy cage in. Didn't do anything special. So we're going to pull an outside frame, move these over, because there should be queen cage right there. So we're going to find out, is she still in the cage or has she been released? Starting to pack pollen in this outside frame. Saw a hive beetle there too. Hive beetles haven't been too bad until about this last 30 days. This last 30 days they've been pretty horrible. Big hives can handle them. Small hives are struggling. Okay. Okay, so they released her. Now, what I'm hoping for is they've accepted her. They're pretty calm. See, they're pretty calm. They're not bothering me at all. But I'd like to see to make sure they've accepted her. We should have eggs. Because I put her in, wow, 10 days ago. And I don't like to get in too quick to check them. I don't want to disturb the acceptance. So we're going to take a peek here. That's an old brood frame from the previous queen that's emerging. So we got a lot of young bees coming out there. Okay. So I found some eggs and some tiny larvae. That has to be from the new queen. So they did accept her, looks like. I don't know if they'll be able to pick it up, but there's some tiny larvae and eggs. Over in there. In fact, she's got about half of this frame laid up. The other half is fresh nectar coming in. Okay, here's our queen, right there. Now, these girls had tried to supersede her already. I'm not allowing that to happen. Being that this was made up of a bunch of mating nukes thrown together, I think it was very out of balance. And they had been already hopelessly queenless. It's a similar situation you have with package bees. They will supersede their queens a lot of times. So I'm going to try to mark this one real quick. So a nice dark little calm carniolan. Just a small amount of, there we go. Just a little bit. There in the middle of the frame. I think there's enough brood. She's got capped brood, open brood, that they should settle in now. I don't think they will continue to try to supersede her. She's well mated, she's young. That can be a problem with a situation like this. Again, this was several 1- and 2-frame mating nukes put together. Just kind of pitched together, shook a bunch of bees in, and gave them a queen. They should be good to go now. Grab a couple more frames here and button them back up. Okay, here's another one that was local genetics, just feral bees. And they were pretty hateful. So we went in, we caged the original queen for 7 days, then pulled her out and put in a queen in a candy release cage with a piece of tape over it to slow them up. get in here and see what we got. I can tell that she's been released. Good pollen frame. There she is. Take this opportunity to go ahead and mark her. Nice, really dark carny queen. There we go. Put it right back on there. And put it right back down in real quick. That's all I need to see. I already saw that they had a little bit of milk brood. And that she was released and accepted. We'll see how this one's doing. I requeened this one because they were just downright hateful. Another one of the local feral stocks. It was hopelessly queenless when I put the new one in. You can see a little bump. Make sure to come up out of there. Let's see what's going on here real quick. Okay, we've got milk brood, so we've got a laying queen. I got milk brood on both sides of this frame. Got milk brood all through this section here. Eggs and milk brood. This frame's solid eggs through here. Haven't seen the queen yet. There's even milk brood over on this one. Got a lot of fresh nectar and honey. We're really bringing in a lot of goldenrod right now. So it's getting late in the evening. A little bit of a brief view of my requeening here in the apiary. There were several reasons why we went through and replaced so many queens. One of them was I had several feral colonies that I've been trying to work with for several years, and they were just flat too spicy, too chippy, too hot, whatever you want to call it. It got to the point that I didn't like working them and I started avoiding them. That's time to get in there, find the queen, get rid of her, replace the genetics. I had a few of the hives that had some older queens. It was time to replace them. I should have replaced them back in July. I was a little busy this year and kind of got backed up on that. I really don't recommend requeening this late in the year in Southern Ohio. Requeening should be done in July, August. The end of September is not an ideal time. It can be done if you're really, really careful. So I requeened several of them with cells. That was at the end of August, and I showed you a couple of those. I did not have 100% return on my queens. That's pretty typical for late in the year. I had about 2 out of 3 queens made it back. Then I started putting mated queens and everything else. I had 100% take on my mated queens. I had the one hive that tried to supersede her. And if you remember through the earlier video clip, that's where I took a bunch of 1 and 2 frame mating nukes, dumped all those together. You really mix the bees up, you drop the mated queen in, put her in a candy cage, let them slowly release her. They did release her, she started laying. There seemed to be an imbalance, so they tried to supersede her. I went ahead and found the virgin, got rid of her. They will finish accepting that mature queen. She's laying, they'll go with it. Things are coming back in balance. That is a overall like a pheromone balance, brood balance within the hive. All the queens are laying. Some are a little more than others, but they're all ramping up. We have a tremendous amount of pollen coming in. We have a decent nectar flow this fall from the goldenrod. So they're all building up at a pretty good pace. Out of all of these, I've got one hive that's a little on the small side. I'm going to have to watch. I might put it over a double screen board over top of a big strong hive for the winter. I think they're all going to be fine. The tricky part about requeening this late in the year is make sure you have a lot of brood build up for winter bees. So that's the primary reason why I don't recommend requeening this late in the year, because there's always a hiccup as you pull your old queen and you get your new queen in to get them laying. Overall, the hives are looking really good. I even noticed on the feral hives that are on the hot side, replacing the queen, even though they're just starting to lay, there's got to be a pheromone difference because they seem to have calmed down a little bit. They're still a little on the chippy side, but not as bad as they were, say, a month ago. There has been no brood changeover, so you're still working with the older bees from the old queen. There is definitely a change in their mood. So it has to be something to do with pheromones as much as anything. As that nest gets turned over and I get the next generation of bees off of these queens, they'll really calm down. That's something that I can't stand is a hive that's a little on the hot side. I won't deal with that. My number one priority is calm bees. Most of my hives, as you've seen in my videos, I can get in and wave my hand over them, tap on the boxes. They don't bother you at all. And that's what I want. That's what everybody wants. If you're not enjoying them, then it's time to make a change. So all of these hives have got new queens. And I've got a couple over here with new queens in them also. So we're pushing forward with 100% pure carniolan genetics. We're going to flood the area with drones next year. And hopefully that will then help us a little bit better on our grafting. That way they're going to be hopefully mating with better genetics. Any feral colonies will be mating with my genetics. That should help calm them down by mating with my drones. So I hope you took something away with this. 3 ways to requeen: mature cells, or two ways with queens in candy cages. Your best bet is to cage your old queen, leave her in there for a week. They won't create queen cells because they still have a queen. Pull her out, then go ahead and put your replacement queen in a candy cage. I would recommend, especially late in the year, taping over that candy, put a little hole in it so it's a little slower getting her out. The third option is, the day you get your queens, pull the old queen, give them about 2 hours, put her in there. Be careful with that. If they get her out too quick, they're probably going to kill her, especially this late in the year. You got a lot of old bees. They're not likely to accept a queen very easily. So if you make them hopelessly queenless ahead of time, they're going to take it a lot better. So hope somebody, can learn a lot from this. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up. Share these videos with your friends, and I'll see you next time.